The ICT sector, or the knowledge economy, has taken on unseen dimensions since the beginning of the millennium. Information and communication technologies underpin everything from healthcare to the use of natural resources and social connections. And recent figures show that there are now more IT jobs in the United States than there were at the height of the dot-com boom. What is disturbing, however, is that a significant segment of the population is being left out of this digital revolution. A recent study found that in the United States, young women earned 37% of computer science degrees in 1985. Today, the number has plummeted to 18%. The issue, however, is not confined to the States. Research conducted for a UN study in both developed and developing countries found similar cases of vertical gender segregation, with women more strongly represented in lower-level ICT occupations than in higher status and higher paid arenas. Thought leaders insist that engaging women and girls in ICT sector work is not only the right thing to do from the point of social justice, but it is also smart economics. Why? The World Economic Forum has revealed that those countries that are role models in dividing resources equitably between women and men, regardless of their level of resources, fare far better than those that do not. Tonight on First Issues, we attempt to unearth the reasons for the low participation of women and girls in ICT, a sector that is continuously growing and shaping both current and future careers and roles. A 1996 paper from the International Conference of the Gender and Science and Technology Association put forth that throughout the world, there are problems in attracting young women to science and technology studies, and that the problem is worse in Africa than in any other region. More than a decade on, do such circumstances still prevail? What reasons are keeping women and girls from being equal participants to men in the ICT sector? To begin our investigation of this matter, we spoke to several young women participating in the Women in ICT Day commemorations held in Silibwe recently, and got some straightforward and interesting responses from the subjects themselves.
Well, I think that the ladies lack something, they lack that power. Or they don't think that they can make something better than men.
We are scared to explore our talents. We are scared to know what to experiment.
Re tsela hore banna kgotsa basimane ke bana ba ba ratang go senya re ba bitsang ke ba senya mme the more ba senya the more they gain the knowledge. So I think the other thing, like they said, is about exploring. When you explore, is that time you learn more, is that time you know what you didn't know. And the fear, I think it's sort of bakharebenyana nakira mole mole ke ga basimane. So that push us back as ladies or as girls.
We also rely much on males as females.
Ditiro tsa te go re setse re go twelesegile la gore ke tsa borre
gore go sekolong re rutetse banyana gore ba tsenele computer studies ba learn more things, just like nayana gore ke ne ke tshaba go computer studies e re ke setse ke tsanela go think ke bona re itse re ke I can learn more things more computer studies.
Being that efforts to encourage the participation of women in ICTs is targeted largely at this young demographic, which methods do they think would be most effective on their peers?
They should give learning to early stages, such as from primary schools and junior secondary schools, so that they can get more exposed to ICTs and so that they can know more about what careers and what subject can be related with their careers.
This kind of events it's empowering the girls. Yeah.
I think we should also use media coverage to also teach people.
Next, we speak to a woman who represents the small minority that has chosen a career in ICT, to hear her experienced view on the matter. Welcome back to First Issues as we seek to unearth the factors preventing women from participating as much as men in the valuable ICT sector. We speak to Ahang Ditloho, a passionate advocate for grassroots level exposure to ICTs, so much so that she was recently selected to be an ICT ambassador by the International Telecommunications Union. She tells us how she came to select the road so few women choose to travel.
It began at a very young age. My mother always tells me that I used to be this one to always be fiddling with things, wanting to open the remote, wanting to find out how the TV is playing, what decoder this does. And it has always been a fascination of mine. And then when I was firstly introduced to computers when I was entering senior schools in my late teens. And we got to computer awareness subject, it was called, and we used to just go around and find out what this equipment is about, what the computer system is about, and we were taught basic computer skills, and that's how I got the fascination that ended up into a passion.
During this inquisitive time that you describe, where you were dismantling remotes and all of that, what was your mother's attitude?
My mother has always been so supportive, and it has always been like that. And I'll always take a knife and take it to the room and do something. Whenever the decoder was out of tune, I'd be the one to press and go to these advanced settings and all of these. But I was never in too much trouble for it. And they just realized that maybe there was something different about me.
Did you ever feel like you were pushing or going against the grain?
At some point, it becomes a reality because you realize the number of girls, women enrolled in these classes, and you get to realize and question yourself, am I really in the right place? And you realize the number of people dropping out of the same stream, and you begin to wonder. But not really. It has always come because it was somewhat of a passion. It always came so easily to me.
Why do you think you find so few women in the classrooms and going further in these types of careers?
Yes, when you talk of engineering, when you talk of your science, your math, the misconception has always been maths is hard, science is hard, and we never really get to explore the breadth of it and look at it at a bigger aspect to say, but everything revolves around these technologies nowadays. So I think that is the main reason why we are so limited as women. And it's not even ICT alone or engineering alone. It's so many other aspects that affect our livelihood. Women are few in numbers in different areas of development.
You mentioned also that the girl child really needs to have more faith in themselves, be more fearless. But what kind of environment, beliefs, perceptions, or things just really create this cowed child?
That one, I choke a bit when I think about it, because it's not even cultural, because every time we go to culture, I think we need to go back. If we could brainwash them, if possible, to tell them that, possibilities are endless, but stumbling blocks, yes. We are not educated enough to know of our worth. That's one. We don't explore beyond what we've been taught and what we've been told. So now it goes back to even informal education that we are taught at home. Why are we taught that there are certain things that a girl child should do and that a boy child shouldn't or is not supposed to? Why am I made to believe? Of course, there's this intuition inside of you that as a girl child, you are a mother. It comes naturally. But what about other things that are man-made? What tells us that something should be male-dominated as opposed to the other gender? So these things come into play. They're broad, they're very complex, and we need to sit down as a nation, as young people, as parents, as all stakeholders, to really unearth and find out the root of all this. And maybe that could be hope for all industries, for all livelihood itself.
From your observation and experience, how much hunger is there really to create a conducive environment for the girl child within ICT education and the sector?
In all honesty, I think stakeholders, including all stakeholders, from the lowest level to the highest level. There hasn't been too much advocacy on that level. There hasn't been somebody or people standing up with one voice, speaking loudly for the girl child's right to explore STEMs effectively with that drive. So I can confidently say, and this is my opinion, that not too much efforts, resources have been allocated for the girl child. Let me just reflect on the just ended Girls in ICT Day. I think it need not be a commemoration just for one day, but it has to be an ongoing activity that reaches out across the whole of Botswana to the girl child to say, this is not just 4 days event, but this is life, this is technology, and this is what it has to offer for you.
Not only is Ahang a passionate ICT advocate and master's student, she is also the co-founder of an organization called the Clicking Generation. What is it and what are its aims?
The Clicking Generation is a project that I co-founded with my business partner, Tsaone Moloi. It's a social entrepreneurship venture. We looked at our story, we looked at our journey and said, but the problem here seems that there's a problem with grassroots level education. And we thought, but what can we possibly do? So the Clicking Generation aims to just provide fun, interactive, computer learning, if you might call it. It's somewhat of an academy for ICT, and its main purpose is focusing on kids and teens. So we offer curriculum that is fun, that is relevant, that is age appropriate for our participants and the kids enrolled there. And we don't only focus, by the way, it's not profit making currently. We just go out there to teach underprivileged children. So we've had pilots in Gaborone, we've had pilots in Maung, and we want to grow beyond that.
With all this in mind, what are your thoughts on ICT development locally? What are your thoughts about its development going forward?
Well, it's quite promising, but I would admit that we are lagging behind on so many other things. Take infrastructure. Our infrastructure is coming up well. We can admit that your broadband is coming up. We've got different facilities that are coming up. There's the works that we are still awaiting. When you come now look at things like your ICT curriculum, there's still a huge gap that exists. The educational formal curriculum, ICT, is still lagging behind. And we look at accessibility issues. Kids in rural areas, how are they supposed to get to be in touch with these ICT developments? You look at your little girl, your little boy who's living with disability. What measures are we taking to make it available, these resources to them appropriately? So there are still these challenges that we need more outreach, especially in rural areas, to unearth the brilliant minds, the brilliant developers that are hidden out there. Because who knows, they are maybe the future greatest developers we are still awaiting.
It's not just the decision makers and their efforts with regards to including the girl child, but there seems to be a general unappreciation for ICT, its value, its potential in the country. What do you think is behind that? Why are we as Botswana lagging behind even other African countries like Kenya?
Yes. If you take countries like Kenya and Uganda, I think stakeholders within government, within homes, within schools and all of them began to realize the power that ICT holds. So I think within Botswana as well, we need to go back and realize that ICT has so much power, and we can even learn from countries that are making it. How are they doing it? How they did it? What were there were challenges as we are facing now? How did they overcome them? So I think it's somewhat, forget the negativity of it all, it's somehow encouraging, and it should be somewhat of a challenge to us to say, but how can we eventually move on, because we can't run away from it. This is a digital age, and we need digital inclusion of all sectors, digital inclusion of all participants and stakeholders. So indeed, I think we need to sit down with policymakers. We need to sit down as young people, as girls, as boys, and just voice out how we can change and shift towards being better, being participants, and not only being consumers of these ICT products, being consumers of ICT initiatives, but actually be producers, because there's so much potential that we can unearth from Botswana.
We trust that tonight's program has given our regular viewers even more to think about and discuss with regards to the development of human capital in the country, with a particular focus on the younger generation. And speaking of the future, in the next segment, we conclude our series on child development and education that we have been running for the past 2 weeks. In the last few weeks, we have taken an in-depth look into the best ways in which children can be encouraged to learn, in light of the fact that human capital development begins right at these early stages, where individuals learn over half of what they know throughout their lifetime. As we conclude our foray into this issue, we speak to 3 mothers who have benefited from the individualized attention of various therapists, learning how to get the best out of 3 children with very different stumbling blocks to their learning and growth. We believe that their first-hand accounts of learning how to overcome the various developmental challenges exhibited by their children have some valuable lessons for all the different stakeholders responsible for caring for this segment of our population. Their differing accounts of the moments in which they realized that their children may require some extra attention and help to better progress in life show how unique each child's case can be.
Tota ne ke sale ke lemogile gore go na le bothata ke bona o nantsa bua sentle, and then all of a sudden ga tana 2 years old a ba sa tlhola bua a dirisa mabogo to express himself, but me a khona go bala di alphabets la o ka di jambula nantsa a khona gore still a khona go bona gore ye ke when he was 2 years old. Meng ke khona ya no ke itsetse pela mo gore ga tengwana mosimane tlhala a diega go bua and all that. Me gone go gongwe ke khona go bona gore o ka re gona le bothata ya no mmehela ke sa batle go dumela.
It was more because he doesn't eat very well. Yeah, that was one of the first things. He was more about eating just pasta. That's it. And every time I ask doctors, why does this child only want pasta? It's just a phase. It's a phase, they'll grow out of it. And then he also was a child that didn't like to be touched, or kissed or held. So every time you try and kiss him, you'd like wipe it away. And for a mother, it's not nice. You want to hug your child and love your child, and they don't want that. So that was the hardest part for me.
She was born with Down syndrome, but obviously she had to go through the relevant tests to make sure that indeed it is Down syndrome. And it's only subsequent to after she was about 6 months, that's when the pediatrician advised us that she will need occupational therapy and a whole lot of other therapies, which is speech therapy and physiotherapy. For her to walk, for her to talk, for her to touch, for her to hold. For you, it's very easy to hold a pen, but for her, she has to be taught to hold a pen the correct way. For you and I, it's easy to speak, but she needs that kind of therapy to assist her to speak such that you and I can understand her.
Kontleng so hela se ne se ntshwenya ke speech, but ga re simolla di therapy tse, especially occupational therapy, ke ga batla nte mosedi o dingwe gore ha o bua le ene matlho a ga go a leba kwa le kwana ne se ke lebella ne se ke ela tlhoko. So that's when ba mpolela gore me kana as long as re bua le ene matlho a bantsa kala ka tshega ya kwa le kwa, know that o bua le no se ha go reetsa. So every time ha o bua le ene, make sure gore he's actually maintaining eye contact. Maintain eye contact.
Now, obviously, with the occupational therapy, we'll get him to do things that he's not so comfortable with doing. And say, for instance, like he doesn't like very light touch, but he likes deep touch. So we're doing a bit of both and enticing him to do different types of activities. So like rolling him in a blanket, you know, he really likes that there, and pulling him out of there. And that's for the deep pressure that hopefully he enjoys. And, you know, as we're going on now, I can see that from the different activities they're doing, I mean, now he's more willing to eat like veggies, you know, which he never did before. He will touch different things and get dirty without like wanting to wash his hands 50 times. Every time he touches something, he wants to go and wash his hands. Now he can play with like paint and stuff like that there for longer periods of time instead of wanting to wash his hands all the time.
To as much as I live 4 years old, I say to bua. Next about batho ba lemoga nere ke sa batle go a ka ene ko di gatherings tse di rileng ke feel gore ba go mmona, and then go nna bo stigma and everything. Di therapy di tso go nthusa go itse gore ha go ntse yalo, especially occupational therapy, ha go ntse yalo, what do I do, ke ire eng jang, ya ire a ke lemile nna ke nne khamo ke bona gore ke ira yang gore ke skaka ya re ga ke lemile lena be le gore ke se thupa kgose that way ha go bereke. In fact go ketsa tlhaloganyo yo ya gago ya gore ke tenegile ga le nna ke tenega go a tlhakatlhakana tota. So di therapy ne tsa nthusa gone gore ke kgone gore ke itse gore ke dila le ene yang. And then of course go engage di therapy mathata a teng hela ke madi a mantsi. It's just go gore mme hela at least for kgosi ke bona value ya madi a teng, and I'm satisfied up to gompieko yana.
I personally believe whatever you can do to access such a therapist, you must do as a parent, because it makes a vast difference in the development of your child. If the occupational therapist and the speech therapist had not intervened at the stage that she was referred to them, then I am of the view that she probably would not have advanced to the level that she's in now, such that now she's able to run, she's able to swim. She's a very good swimmer, by the way, and the speech would be, her speech would probably not be as advanced as it is. So I see a huge difference with the intervention from the therapists, because they don't only give the therapy to the child, they also teach you as the parent as to what exercises to give the child, what settings to set up for the child at home, how to encourage her to do certain things, and what activities to engage her in. And all these will assist in the development of the child.
It has helped Kgosi ka gore he's now a better person. Tota go na le kwa ke ilang potsa gore mama am I autistic, ke be ke mara ke re e ra autistic. So ha bona dikgang tsa autism le ene o tsenya leitlho mo teng, o batla go tla go na le nako ngwe ke ileng a tla a printile newsletter nyana mo BBC News e ne bua ka some software company go gong ko moseja gore e tla be batla bana batho ba ba go bereko ke batho ba autistic ngwaga tse ditlang. So go teka gore they pay attention to detail, ba gore motho a teng ha dira selo se dira to the very last minute. So go se ke ha tla ka tsona mpolla gore there is hope, he's actually going to work there gore so le ene kgang tsa teng hela dintsi di a mo ruta di a mo aga, as much as le rona di re agegile re bulegile ditlhaloganyo re mo acceptile for who he is.
As the team and I bid you good night, we leave you with some stage advice from some of our featured guests this evening.
The bottom line is it's upon you, the parent, to decide that this is my daughter or this is my son, and I am going to give the best that I can to this child. And it's about accepting as a parent first, then you can assist the child.
You know, always go with your motherly instinct as to what your children are going through. If you feel that they're not ready for school, or you feel that maybe there's some concerns or problems, just get it checked out. Don't just leave it, because you never know. And try and follow the advice of what the professionals give you.